We are working within Chapter 5 in your InDesign book. It wants us to open up InDesign file 5-2 in your chapter data files, and it wants us to save it as making the gradient. I already did that. You go up to File, Save As, Making the Gradient, save it to some place where you will remember where it's at. Step 2, click the Swatches Panel Options button, then click New Gradient Swatch. Here's our swatches. I want to make sure we're in the swatches area. Go here, New Gradient Swatch. And then it asks us to, for step 3, in the swatch name text box, type blue, gold, red linear. Okay. Click the left color stop on the gradient ramp. Click the stop color list arrow. Left color stop. Stop color list arrow. Then click Swatches so that your dialog box resembles figure 50. Okay, there we go. When you choose Swatches, the colors on the Swatches panel are listed below. Click the swatch name blue. There we go. Very cool. The left color stop on the gradient ramp changes to blue. Step 6, click the right color stop on the gradient ramp, click the stop color list arrow, click swatches, then click the swatch name red. There you go. Click directly below the gradient ramp to add a new color stop. Means right about here. I'll do it right in the middle, just to guess. Click anywhere to add the new color stop. You can adjust the location using the location text box. Type 50 in the location text box, then press Tab. It's close to 50. Tab. The new color stop is located at the exact middle of the gradient ramp, which is sort of what I expected they would place that color stop. Step 9, click the stop color list arrow, click swatches, then click the swatch name gold so that your new gradient swatch dialog box resembles figure 51. Swatches, gold. Okay, so look at your book, figure 51. Step 10 says click OK. So as you can see, we have a new gradient, blue, gold, red linear gradient. You can actually, if you want to make sure that your stroke is on none, it's always a good thing to keep it at none when you're starting a new document. Okay. Moving on, the new gradient swatch is added to the swatches panel. You created a 3-color linear gradient swatch using 3 named colors. Now we're going to create a radial gradient swatch. Click the swatches panel options button. Here we go. It's going to ask us to do another new gradient swatch. Then click New Gradient Swatch. The New Gradient Swatch dialog box opens with the settings from the last created gradient. In the swatch name text box, type cyan radial. Click the type list arrow, then click radial, telling it that's what type of swatch we're going to have, or gradient we're going to have. Step 4, click the center stop, then drag it straight down to remove it from the gradient ramp. Okay. Anytime you click on these little stops, you can maneuver them any way you like. pull them off and they go away, you can click and add a new one. So it's pretty user-friendly and intuitive. Step 5. Click the left color stop on the gradient ramp. Click the stop color list arrow, then click CMYK. Click CMYK. Drag each slider to 0 so that your dialog box resembles figure 52. There you go. Click the right color stop on the gradient ramp. Click the stop color list arrow, then click CMYK, mimicking what we just did. Step 8, drag the cyan slider to 100, then magenta, yellow, and black to 0. Okay. Make sure it resembles figure 53, then click OK, and your new gradient swatch is added to the Swatches panel. Okay. Nice, so we have a radial cyan gradient and then another gradient which is blue, gold, and red linear. Very cool. All right. And it should look a little something like this. First, second. Okay. Click the Show Gradient Swatches button. We're going to apply these gradients and use the Gradient Swatch tool. Let's see. Click the Show Gradient Swatches button, and that's on the Tools panel. Okay. Okay, click the Show Gradient Swatches. And then it has us click on the Selection tool and click the border of the top rectangular frame. Verify that the Fill button is activated on the Tools panel. Okay, let's do that. Make sure that the Fill is activated. Move this gradient down here. And then click the blue, gold, red linear on the Swatches panel. Okay, so we have this activated. There we go. Click the Gradient Swatch tool, which it is. On the toolbar then, using figure 54 as a guide, place the mouse pointer anywhere on the top edge of the rectangular frame, clicking and dragging down, and then releasing the mouse button at the bottom edge of the frame. Anywhere, so you can just sort of drag down and see how it changes. And your frame should resemble figure 55. Go up like here, see figure 55, just like this, and it does. It looks just like that. Okay. Okay, step 4, drag the gradient swatch tool from the bottom middle handle of the frame to the top right handle. Bottom middle, top right, now we have that. Drag the gradient swatch tool from the left edge of the document window to the right edge of the document window. Interesting how it does that. You can do many different things with the gradient swatch tool. Click the Selection tool, click the edge of the circular frame, then click the cyan radial on the Swatches panel. go. Click the gradient swatch tool. There we go. Press and hold down Shift, then drag the gradient swatch tool from the center point of the circle up to the bottom edge of the center rectangle above the circle so that your document resembles 57. So the Shift allows it to stay in a line, and that looks very similar to figure 57. You filled two objects with two different gradients, and you used the gradient swatch tool to manipulate how the gradients filled the objects. You can play around with that. Again, I'm not real strict on the way it looks in the end, as long as you understand the way that it works and how user-friendly and intuitive it can be. We'll finish just a couple more of these steps and then we'll be done with this portion. Use the gradient swatch tool to extend a gradient across multiple objects and modify a gradient. Step 1, click Window on the menu bar, point to Color, then click Gradient to open the gradient panel. We had it open before, so Window, Color, Gradient. Deselect all, click the Selection tool. Make sure you're in the Selection tool. Select 3 rectangular frames above the circle. Do those all at once. Click blue, gold, red linear on the Swatches panel. Okay. The gradient fills each frame individually. With 3 objects still selected, click the gradient swatch tool. Okay. Now it's going to show how you can actually spread out this gradient across the objects. Click the selection tool, or it wants us, sorry about that, back up. Then drag it from the left edge of the leftmost frame to the right edge of the rightmost frame. Drag your crossbar. There you go. Click the selection tool, then click the rectangular frame at the top of the document window. Remove the center gold stop from the gradient ramp on the gradient panel. Just go like this, move it down. Then click the Show All Swatches button on the Swatches panel. Now you got to figure out where that's at. It looks a little bit like this. There you go. And see, now you can see they're merged in with the rest of the swatches. Save your work, then close Making the Gradient. Save. And you've got this lesson complete. See you in the next video.